And we already have Gen Con and Gamehole banning GiantLands because it must be bad. Well, first of all, they don't know what GiantLands is. Nobody does. So the idea of banning it because it must be bad is a terrible thing to do to a set of rules, and and you can certainly put this in the tape. It's exactly what happened to TSR in the 80s when the Christian people said TSR has demons and devils. They're teaching our kids to summon demons. Well, that never happened. Gary put demons and devils in the game for people to have terrible evil foes to fight and defeat. Gary wanted his game to be good wins over evil. That's why the orcs should be evil and not whatever they've been changed to Wizards of the Coast. He wanted the game to be obvious that if you were a good guy, you did better than if you were a bad guy, and obviously have the glory of defeating horrific evils out there. And so that Christian right, they went away after a while, after they got tired, and they did a lot of damage up until then. But that's what's happening here with GiantLands and TSR. TSR hasn't produced a product yet. How can they be evil and terrible if there's nothing to produce? And let me assure you, whatever they produce, it's not going to say, oh, people can't play this game. Oh, these people can't play this game. Give me a break. That's not going to happen. That's not what anybody wants. So the brush that's being painted there, I have to say, I don't think it's a fair brush. I'll tell you what's happening too. Let me tell you that anybody over 40 that enjoyed D&D and TSR and all its worlds, they want that back. They want to have the fun that they had then. And so they're hoping that this TSR turns into something that they'll enjoy, something that mirrors the old company, which I think is the effort they want to do with the museum and the products that come out from them. And Gary taught me how to design games and how to play games. So all of my designs are very much like Gary designs. And I think that's a good thing. I think there's few people in the world right now that did as well as he did in what he did with his game. So, and then, computer games owe their livelihood to Gary. There's so many different genres, novels and miniatures and all these things that owe their success in part to D&D.
Absolutely.
I think people should consider that before they start throwing rocks at something they don't understand at all. Read my game and determine for yourself if it's lousy or if it's good, but don't say it's lousy before you've read it.
How did you get involved with this new TSR Games with Mr. Ernie Gygax and Justin Lanassa and of course, Stephen Dinehart, and how does that all work out? Because there's so much speculation out there, right? So if we could get
absolutely. So here's what happened. So I designed the game 2 years ago, and it was a work for hire design. So I just turn it over and say, okay, go with it. And so Stephen started selling them, but the sales were kind of slow because nobody knew it existed. I talked it up, but I only have 5,000 people on my Facebook page. So Stephen looked for other avenues to sell the product. And so he went to a couple hobby stores and offered them the ability to sell it. He went to a just-in-time printer and offered him the ability to sell it. But he wasn't getting the sales that he wanted. And so TSR came along, and the premise, of course, from the new TSR company is to establish the history of D&D and what happened in the creation of D&D. And I think that's a very noble goal myself. I don't like the fact that all of these 10, 11, and 12-year-olds don't know a thing about Gary Gygax. That makes me very uncomfortable. He's the father of this game, and it was a brilliant concept to begin with, and he should be given more notoriety than he's getting. So a guy who's setting up a museum that supports getting out the word on Gary Gygax and his achievements, I think is a very good thing to do. So they were looking for a couple games to start off their company. And so Stephen talked to them about what their aims were and what they were going to do. And he said, okay, I'll give it a try. What do I have to lose? And so the sales that he's gotten after attaching GiantLands to TSR have been tremendous. He is just overjoyed with how many people are buying into this. And I see it on Facebook every day. People that know my name and like my stuff are grabbing onto GiantLands expecting to see something as good as the stuff I've done before.
That's right.
And hopefully, if I've done everything right, they will see something as good as I've done before.
So, Jim, first of all, talk to me about GiantLands, how that came to be. I want to really get into deep about GiantLands and what that is.
Sure. Okay, so Stephen had an idea. He wanted something like Gamma World, but with lots more magic in it and lots more kind of like a call to nature. All right. So he went on the Gamma World Facebook page and he started talking up, I got this game idea. I really want to turn it into a product. What do you guys suggest? And they all pointed my way, which is very kind of them. I appreciate that very much. So he gives me a call and says, I've got this idea. And the idea, I'm telling you, it's brilliant. It's just so much fun working with it. So what happens is Gaia, the spirit of nature, the goddess of nature, decides she's really irritated at mankind ruining the earth, pollution, all that other stuff, and so she decides she's going to destroy mankind. So all the cities, all the towns, all the villages, all of mankind is turned to rubble, and she brings back the giants. And she brings back other fantasy creatures that she deliberately put away in another dimension so they wouldn't hurt mankind. And so she said, no, you guys don't deserve my help. That's it. So you're struggling as a human or as one of these other creature races when you become a character in GiantLands. And now the really cool idea is that just turned me crazy was he wants to put GiantLands in a theme park so that you play the game in your basement, you have lots of fun with your friends, and then you take your characters that you've developed over the years, you take it to the theme park, and you're able to use the powers of your characters in the theme park. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
What an idea that is. I mean,
Very
they've kind of done the reverse in a couple different theme parks where you meet fantasy actors playing fantasy characters, but in the GiantLands theme park, you're going to be the characters reacting to the other characters in the park. I just think it's wonderful. And he also decided to meld it with the apocalypse, so that like in Gamma World, there was technology that survived the ruins of the different things that ruined the earth. And in GiantLands, there's technology, there's robots, there's ships, there's amazing technology that people can find and discover and use. But there's also this theme of fixing pollution. The very honorable task of changing the polluted world into a healed world. And Gaia gives you tons of experience points if you work on that. Has your character. If you go and try to fix the polluted lakes and the polluted lands and the radiated areas, if you try to fix those things, Gaia rewards you.
Wow.
So I just think it's just a wonderful, colorful idea. I know anybody who's role played at all is going to like it a lot. And I really think the science fiction fans and the fantasy fans are going to flock to it and get whatever they're interested in their genres in the GiantLands genre.
So Gaia has increased the magnetic fields of the Earth, and sensitive characters can use that force to form spells, and that's ley magic, right?
Ley magic. I wanted something that wasn't magic from the other role-playing games. I wanted something very different. And so I've read a lot about ley lines. I think they're kind of fascinating. They're kind of like magnetic power lines that go all over the earth. They're all over the place. And Tesla worked with the ley lines to power his lights. And so I wanted something like ley to be my magic spells. Because if you're a lay sorcerer, you have the ability to grab this magical power and get it in your hand and turn it into spells. And the more powerful you are, the more you can grab. Plus, there's stronger and weaker ley lines all across the earth.
So these lines, from what I've read, ley lines, these are lines that run through landscapes. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, they run all over the world. So they're in the oceans as well.
Okay.
They're in lakes and rivers as well. But they're power lines that circumnavigate the whole world, and some of them are stronger than others as they cross, as they go 4-way and 6-way. They gain more power, and our lay people can use that to increase their own power on their own magic effects.
Okay, so a spellcaster, right, is somebody who's harnessed the ley lines and has a certain number of ley points per day?
Yes, exactly right.
So talking about combat for a moment here. So you've said in an interview in the past that combat is meant to be easy. You've got a percentage chance to hit, and the armor and other conditions of the target subtract from that percentage. So roughly speaking then, where would you start your percentage to hit? Is that sort of like your THACO, your to hit percentage for you're starting to hit somebody who's got a armor class of a percent?
Yeah, so what happens is the referee tells you what your foe's armor class is.
Okay.
So if the foe's armor class is 30%, then you're subtracting 30% from your to hit roll. So let's say your roll is 50%. You're subtracting 30%, so now you have to roll a 1 through 20% to hit that character.
Got it.
So it's pretty easy. You don't get much easier than that.
No.
I want the game to be very simple to play and easy to learn, just like all role-playing games should be, and then build on it from there. So you're going to pick your weapon, whatever you want, and that'll do a specific amount of damage given in the book. I can't remember off the top of my head, but like a longsword will do like 40 points of damage, and a dagger will do like 15 points of damage. But yeah, you're not rolling at all. You're just doing damage based on the weapon type that you're using.
Oh,
and then if you add layers of ley energy on it, you do more damage and you hit better with those weapons.
And also you can store those ley points into objects such as wands.
Yes, you can make ley equipment. Yes, you can.
You can make ley armor as well.
Well, no, actually, you have to layer ley energy onto armor. It lasts for 24 hours,
Okay.
and it increases the armor class by 15%. So if you're a 50, you have plate armor on, and you're at 50%. The ley energy would make it 65%, and then if you use the shield and put ley energy on that, it would add another 5%. So you could be sitting around with armor that gives you a 70% protection, which is pretty dang good. In the game, if you roll a 1 to 10% on your attack roll, you always hit no matter what the armor is.
Okay. 1 to 10. All right. So you got a tenth. So unlike a 1 and 20.
You always have a chance. You always have a chance.
Oh, right on. Okay. So 1 out of. Okay. So let me see over here. So 10%, right, versus 5% on a D20 system where you do critical hits, right?
Yeah, I don't do critical hits, of course.
Okay. Yeah, you're not. No critical hits, huh? Okay.
Yeah, no. We try not to do anything that'll get me sued into the Stone Age by Wizards of the Coast. And again, you got to have fun. Gary always said, when you're not having fun, stop playing. Do something else. But he was the ultimate gamer. He liked all sorts of games. I've done the same thing. I work very hard at reading the competition's games because I want to be just as good, if not better, than what the competition's doing. That's another thing that Gary taught me. Look at other people's stuff. Never say, oh, they're terrible. Never say that. Look at their stuff. Take whatever is worthy in it and, assume it into your stuff, your material. And so that's what I've done.
So this is an amalgamation of fantasy, sci-fi, your Metamorphosis Alpha work, your Gamma World work. So you're not on a ship in Metamorphosis Alpha, but you're on a planet that needs rejuvenation. You get these.
Yes.
So what do you call the Gaia points, or what Gaia gives you when you actually, let's say, fix a lake? An acid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's you get experience points.
Okay.
But Gaia also has these things called sigils. Gaia gives you sigils, and there's 8 different sigils.
Okay.
And each sigil gives you a range of 5 to 6 powers that you can use. You pick one power in the morning at dawn, and you can use that power all day long. And the idea is for the player characters to collect these sigils off of other intelligent races, and the person who collects all 8 gets a great big boon from Gaia. It's kind of like a gigantic wish, but you got to get all 8, and that's not easy to do. Each person gets a sigil necklace. It has to touch your flesh to work.
Oh wow!
And so you can get more of these necklaces, and they all they have to do is touch your flesh in the morning at dawn, and you can get a power. So that'd be 8 different powers if you got all of them, which is kind of fun. It's kind of like using artifacts in other role-playing games.
Tell me, so in the playtest that you did at Gamehole Con, right, in Madison.
Yeah, sure.
What did you learn, and what did you change from the game design after that playtest? And did you do other playtests as well?
Well, yeah, I've done several playtests. I did learn a couple things that I found very interesting. This is a new feature to the game as well. We want people to wear costumes and wear masks when they play the game. So we've built that into the game system. So if you wear a mask while you're playing the game, it ups all your percentages by 5%. So your ability in strength, your ability in saving throws, everything gets increased by 5%. And if you wear a costume with the mask, everything gets increased by 15%. And so I wanted that to play so that people would come to the table kind of looking to be, cool, and kind of adding an actor element to the whole thing, to people to be in character with these costumes. And the masks that I got for everybody weren't good enough.
Okay.
They were too shoddy, and people were having to lift them up to see, and I was very not pleased with those. So we're going to get a better cloth mask for people to use during the play of the game.
I like this idea. So the thing with the masks and dressing up, right? So with the rise of cosplay and that kind of thing, all kinds of young people loving to do that,
yes.
Right? Are you trying to bring that in, to merge, to have something to offer? The youth, this new generation coming up who really enjoy dressing up as their favorite characters and really role playing.
That's exactly right. That's what we're trying to do. The young people are very much into cosplay, and we brought that into the game, and we set up new rules so that it's your advantage to wear a mask. It's your advantage to wear a costume, and I think people are going to love it. And plus, when the park happens, you'll be able to wear your costume and mask into the park, and people will know instantly what race you are and what you're able to do. So I just think that's just a wonderful new effect that we're going to have going for us as things get going with GiantLands.
I like it. The park is definitely an ambitious idea, but you are not someone who shies away from ambitious, world-changing, world-scale projects, right?
Well, that's very true, and he wants to set it in Madison if he can. Mm-hmm. So the first building that will be built is a big dome, so that we can have that heated, so the park can be open in the winter as well as the other seasons, because winter is pretty cold in Wisconsin. But with that big dome, we'll be all set to play the game all the time. I think that's just going to be so wonderful to work up, and it hasn't really been done before.
I did see that you did a playthrough at Gamehole Con, and there was a giant squirrel, right, who was hurling huge. I'm just thinking my kids are going to laugh so hard.
That's the first
Right?
adventure, Squirrel Tower Adventure. And what happens is they're looking for a tower made like a squirrel.
Okay.
And when they find it, the magic of the tower keeps turning them into 9-foot tall squirrels. And so the squirrels kind of roam around the tower eating the basketball-sized walnuts that are falling out of the trees. And the objective of the characters who don't turn into squirrels is to figure out a way to turn them back into people.
Tell me the greatest design principles that you learned from Mr. Gary Gygax.
Well, keep it simple. That was one of his big deals. One of the things that don't overpower the beginning game. I think I've said before, Gary Gygax was a Monty Hall referee. He had to be, because he had to play test all of the magic items and spells that he put in the game. So he gave away a lot of stuff. And I myself like to give away stuff because I like to see the expression on people's faces when they get the stuff in the game. So getting goodies in the game is better than being miserly in the game, I think. But it's going to be about 370-page books.
Perfect.
Very well illustrated. The illustrations are all done, and they're terrific. He's found a couple really good illustrations. And then Larry Elmore is part of the illustration group, too. So that's wonderful. And so you get 3 books. You get a book that kind of sets you up as the player and gives you some equipment. And then you get a book that explains combat and the sigils and how they work, the sigil powers. Mm-hmm. And then you get a monster book that shows all about the monsters and how that works. And then you also get Percentile Dice. You get a very nice sigil coin, which is way cool. You'll really like it when you see it.
Beautiful.
And then we got 2 adventures done, and they're gonna be put online for sale.
Thank you so much for your time, Mr. James M. Ward. GiantLands is available right now for pre-order.